Hey everybody, today we're going to be making one of my son Adam's favorite recipes. We're going to be making Japanese milk bread. Now, Japanese milk bread is just like any other sandwich white bread, at least that's what it tastes like. But it's an enriched dough, so it has some eggs and some milk in it. Why do you like Japanese milk bread more than any of the others?
Well, it's like a perfect combination of sour and sweet. It's not so sweet, it tastes like cake. It's not so sour that it tastes like, I don't know, like some sort of sourdough.
Yeah, well, you don't tend to like sourdough breads. It has too much of a crust. But this is nice and pillowy on the inside, and it's a really simple dough to do as long as you have this. Because if you don't have a stand mixer, then making bread at home is a little hard. Because this is going to do the bulk of the work for us today. Because there's about 15 minutes worth of kneading that we're going to do. But the first step that we're going to do is make a starter for the bread. It's a Japanese technique. It's called a tanzong. And what that is it's just a kind of milk pudding that you make before you do the bread. And you do that by mixing flour and water and milk together in a saucepan and cooking that up until it's kind of a loose consistency but congealed. And then you let it cool. So what we're going to finish today is our mise en place. So we're going to set up all the things that we need to get this bread done today. We're going to need 60 grams of sugar. So I have this tared out for grams. Can you put 60 grams of sugar into this little red bowl over here, buddy? Great. Keep going. You're going to need probably like three more of those. Great. 30. You're getting like 15 per. That's perfect. That's like a tablespoon.
Wait, how many again?
You need to bring it to 60. So that's one more. You're doing great. Yeah, pick a little bit out of there. He's at like 64. There you go.
52.
Perfect.
Oh,
that's okay.
61.
That's okay.
Just a little bit.
We're really close there. So now I'm going to ask you to pour out 7 grams. Actually, you know what? We're going to do 14 grams because we're doing double of that.
I see.
Yeah.
I get 14 grams?
That's 14 grams of the yeast. And actually, what I'm forgetting is that we are doing a double batch of this today. So we're going to need more than just the 60 grams of sugar. We're going to need 120. So you got almost. Keep going. Spill a little bit more. Keep going. There we go. 14 it is.
Exactly.
Exactly. So I'm going to need you to put another 60 grams of sugar into that bowl.
Okay.
Okay? Because we're doubling the recipe. The tanzong, you need to do a third of a cup of water, a third of a cup of milk, and a third of a cup of actually it's a half a cup of milk, a half a cup of water, and a third of a cup of flour. But if you try and divide that, it's impossible to make it. So you just make double the starter. What I end up doing is just making 2 loaves of bread, and that lasts us the entire week. How are you doing there, bud? Almost there. Almost there. Awesome. There you go. Perfect. Okay. So we now have
0.
Yeah, that's great. Can you grab me the saucepan from over there? Okay. We're going to need 45 grams of the bread flour to go into there. Yeah, go ahead. So I'm just going to zero this out, and I'm going to do this super quick. So we're just going to do a third of it, and I'm just going to take out a little bit because we only need 45 grams. And then we're going to take it over to the stove. Great.
46.
Come on over to the stove with us. So we're going to put that onto the stove, and we're going to put in the milk, and we're going to put in our water, and we're going to set this over some medium-low heat. And what we're going to do is we're going to whisk that as it's coming together, and it's going to become kind of a pudding consistency. You just want to make sure that it's not sticking to the sides and that it's not what we're going to do is we're going to have you come back as soon as this is done, because this is going to take about 5 minutes. So we've gotten it to this point where it looks like it's kind of a runny roux, which is exactly where we need it to be. Adam, can you grab me a spatula from right there? Awesome. So we're going to turn this off. Great. Thank you. And we're going to just pour this back into the cup measure where we grabbed our milk from. And we're going to cover it with some plastic wrap. Can you grab me some plastic wrap, buddy, from underneath the sink? And all we're doing is covering it with plastic wrap so that it doesn't form a skin, because if this was just left out, the air touching it would create a skin on the top of it, and that's not too tasty. So we're going to cover this, we're going to let it sit for about 10-15 minutes, and then we'll be able to continue with the rest of our bread. Okay, so our Tenzong has had about 15 minutes to really cool. And the reason that we're doing that is because we don't want it to kill our yeast. Our yeast has a happy place between, like, it's around body temperature, so between 95 and 100 degrees. You don't want it to go any higher or any lower, else instead of burping and farting, they'll just die. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to produce the rest of our loaf. And you thought that was funny? Can you put 600 grams of bread flour into there?
Should I zero it out?
It's already zeroed out for you, buddy. I'm going to take this milk and I'm going to put it into the microwave. And we're going to try and heat this up just a little bit to make sure that it is nice and piping hot for when we put it in with the rest of our stuff. So 600 grams, as I said before, we're doubling this recipe. It's normally 300 grams of bread flour for a single loaf, but since we're doing double, we're going to go to, actually, we're going to do 650 grams, okay? 490, 560, you getting there? Almost. Another 20 grams, and we'll be right there. Just sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle. You went a little too far.
Yeah.
So we're going to pull that out to make it 650 in there. And then what we're also going to do, you good? Sprinkle a little bit. Sprinkle a little bit. Okay. I'm going to stick my finger in here, and this is just warm. So it's a little bit warmer than my body temperature. By the time we're getting to use it, it'll be fine. You good, buddy? There you go. We're good.
649.
Yeah, I think that we're good on that front.
It says it keeps moving from 6.
I know, it keeps on going up and down. We're going to add our sugar to this mix. And we're just going to scrape that out. And then we have our yeast mixture as well. And then we're going to zero this out, and we're going to add some salt to the mixture. Yeah, you're going to add 8 grams of salt. Okay? It's going to take forever doing that.
What?
What do you mean, what?
I like it.
There we go. We're good.
8 grams.
So, we have this mixture. We're going to put it right into our machine, and we're going to let this go.
It says 1 kilogram.
It says 1 kilogram again?
965 grams.
Awesome.
0.
So, we're going to let this go so that it can mix it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add in some of our other ingredients. Okay, so we're going to turn this off. And this is where we're going to add some of our other ingredients. We're going to add in our Tenzong. Yes, you can, but what we're going to do is we're going to lower this first. There you go. Add it in. You're going to want to scrape it out instead of just jimmying it. You're just funny. Keep going. And then I'm going to crack these eggs into this ramekin right here.
It smells like paper mache.
It does, because paper mache happens to be flour.
And water.
Exactly. So we're good there. And then we're going to add the milk as well.
It smells weird.
It smells weird.
Yeah.
Well, of course it smells weird here. I'm going to scrape this out a little bit more because we want every last little bit of this to make it into the mixture. And what you're gonna do, just turn that, flip that up, pull the bowl up, and then set it to medium so that it can go again. There's this handle over here that you pull up. Now,
6?
no, do it like 4 or 5.
There is no 5.
Then put it between 4 and 6. We're gonna mix it on a 4 until this comes together. And then we're gonna add in our butter, which is the last part of our enriched mixture. So we're gonna let this run for about 5 minutes, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna add in the rest of our fat. So as it's coming together, you can bring this over. This now is coming into being a bigger mass of dough. And I'm just adding piece by piece, a little butter at a time. Just kind of smearing it with my fingers and then adding it to the mixture. And this will just make sure that it incorporates evenly as it's all coming together. And then after I have all of these pieces kind of, mixed into the dough as a whole, we're gonna let this go for about 15 minutes at around medium speed. So around like a 4 or a 5 on this type of mixer. And while you're doing it, you're not gonna wanna get too far away from it because it really does like start, going around the bowl, and it will dance off of your counter if you're not okay with it. So we're gonna have this kind of work its magic over a little bit of time, and it's just going to come together, and then we'll come back to it as soon as it's been able to make itself into a singular mass. So our butter is now incorporated into the rest of our dough, and we're gonna start to kick it up because what we want to do at this point is to start creating some gluten structure in the dough. And to do that, we're gonna really kick it up, and this thing is gonna start moving. And again, you're not gonna wanna leave it for too long because this thing will kind of get out of control. We'll show you a little bit during the rest of it, but it should take around 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so it has been just over 10 minutes and this thing is working. So if you wanna come and take a look at this, the gluten structure has really started to come together and it's starting to pull away from the side of the bowl, and it's a full mound in the center. You want to turn that off for me? Awesome. So now what we're going to do, you're going to lower the bowl. Yeah. Other way. There you go. Awesome. We're going to pull this off. And right here, I just have a large metal bowl that is buttered. And I'm going to pull this dough hook off.
Should I put it in this?
Yeah, that would be great. And I'm going to just use my hands to move it out of this bowl and into the other. And we're going to try and make a single mounded ball out of what's in here. So I'm just gonna fold it over a couple of times from the bottom to the top, and then I'm going to plop over the mixture. And we're gonna set it with some plastic wrap around it, and we're gonna let that sit for about 40 to 60 minutes until it's double in size and almost touching the top. Okay, so it's been about an hour, and this has doubled in size. And you can see it's just touching the top of the plastic wrap. We're gonna take that off, and what we're gonna do is, this is the fun part. We're gonna punch that down and degas it. Okay? And then what we can do is we can pour this out.
Don't we need flour?
No, we do not, because this is gonna be a very forgiving dough that we're gonna be able to utilize. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut these into 2 portions. And I'm gonna roll it into kind of just a little shape into a ball. I'm gonna do the same thing on this one. And just kind of roll it underneath itself. There we go. And these two puppies are gonna sit here for about 15 minutes and relax just a little bit. Actually, that one looks a little bit smaller than this one, so I'm gonna take off a little piece of that. I'm gonna put this underneath. I'm just gonna incorporate that into it. There we go. I think that those look like they're two of equal size. Now we're just gonna cover this with a towel, and we're gonna let it go for about 15 minutes. Boom. So we've let these rest for 15 minutes, and they've now relaxed their gluten a little bit. And I've buttered 2 pans that we're gonna put these into. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put that one over there. I'm gonna flip this over, and I'm gonna degas it a little bit, like that.
You're gonna put it in?
Yeah, you can put it in, but let me roll it up. So we're gonna stretch it out like that, and then we're gonna roll it up, and then we're gonna pinch it. We're gonna make it into a little bundle like this. And then what we can do,
It looks like a giant bow.
it does look like a giant bao, because bao is, it's bread, is what it is. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna roll this over. I know, I'll let you do the second one. I just wanted to show you how we're gonna do this. So now it's all nestled into here. So I'm gonna do the second one. I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna degas it to make sure that there's no real big air bubbles in it. And then I'm going to stretch it out. I'm gonna roll it up. And I'm gonna pinch the edges in to make sure that it's sealed, because there's sometimes when I'm making these that like one of the flaps will like come up and it'll like come up out of the side, and it's not too nice looking. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna pull this over here, and you can go and plop that down into there, buddy.
Like that?
Very nice. See, expertly done. And we're just gonna leave these to sit on the counter for about 45 minutes underneath this cloth again, and we'll come back, and then we're gonna brush them with milk and throw them into the oven. Okay, it has been 40 minutes and our loaves have grown substantially. What we're gonna do, this is called milk bread, so we're gonna brush the tops with a little bit more milk. This is the 3rd time that we've used this particular ingredient. We used some in the Tanzong. We used some when we were doing our initial mix, and now we're doing it again to brush the tops. And this is gonna help it get nice and golden after it's done in the oven. Now we preheat the oven to 350 degrees. We're gonna set these into there for anywhere from 35 to 40 minutes. And when that's done, you're gonna know that they're done because they're gonna be fully risen. They're gonna kind of muffin top over the edge of these particular loaf pans. And then we're gonna be able to see that they're nice and golden and ready to come out. So we're gonna just go put these right in here. And we'll see you in 40 minutes. Okay, so it's been 40 minutes, and these loaves look done. Chabi, you pick that one out and put it up here.
Should I like
Yeah, pull that out. Pull out the entire thing. There you go. Put it up here.
here?
Perfect. Yep. Now grab this other one. Great. No, don't put it on the counter. Put it over here onto the cooling rack. Great. We're going to do the same thing with that one too. So these have risen considerably, as you can see. And what we're going to do is, because these have a tendency to kind of buckle in, we're going to pull them out of their cases right away. Look at that. These are absolutely gorgeous loaves of bread. So we're going to let these sit out, and we're going to have these cool. And as soon as they are cool enough to slice, we'll cut into one, and we'll show you what it is. And we'll be back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we've let these sit for an hour, and we're gonna slice into one to see how we did. So, look at that. Look at that nice airy crumb. Excellent job, Adam. Excellent job.
Should we taste it?
Would you like to taste it?
Yeah.
How about you go ahead? I know
This is a beefy piece of bread.
it is a beefy piece of bread. Yeah, it's nice and pillowy, and look at that. Look at how soft that is. This is just such great bread, and it's gonna last for just about a week. Like I was able to get a week out of these loaves. Just make sure that you wrap them tight, and they're good to go. Okay.
What
Whoa.
I recommend to do is, once you cut it open, you should sprinkle a little bit of salt on it.
Well, after you put the butter, you like putting butter and salt on it. That's the best application for this bread. Well, thank you all for joining us, and please, if you end up making this bread, please comment below with your pictures. Please like and subscribe, and keep 6 feet away from your loved ones, and wash your hands. Love you all. Good luck. Bye.